Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephanie Licata. I'm a senior learning strategist at Cloverleaf. I'm also an independent learning and leadership consultant and executive coach. My background is in organizational psychology, and I am also an ICF certified coach. I've been practicing independently since 2006. And I've had a wonderful, very interesting journey as a practitioner. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you today. And I just want to acknowledge all of you for your courage to be in this space that we play in, right? Supporting people in doing great work, in being great leaders, in being great team members. It's not easy work. If it was easy work, everybody would do it. And so we all know that it's difficult work to bring people to awareness, to bring teams to awareness, to help organizations thrive. And so I'm excited to be here with you today. So I'll share with you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about, I'm going to be sharing with you a proven revenue model to scale your coaching, consulting, or training business without getting stuck in the weeds. So this is a model that I have not only used myself, but I've used with other coaches and consultants that are people that are colleagues of mine, people that I've worked with, and that I've helped to sort of kind of move their business out of this sort of dollars for hours kind of model. And we're also going to talk about how to possibly expand into team coaching and training without losing client engagement. And yes, I'm actually going to share with you some models and modalities of how to do that. I'm not going to talk about it conceptually. I'm going to talk about it very practically. Okay, so as an independent practitioner, how can you make something really scalable, and what does that actually look like? I'm not going to talk about it in this very existential way. I'm going to talk about it very specifically and give you very specific examples of things that I've done and also things that some of my colleagues have also done that I've seen be successful, right? And then I'm actually going to give you pricing and packaging ideas, okay, that you can take and make your own, and that you can take and personalize with your own signature style. Then I'm going to talk about some hybrid approaches that blend technology, some self-guided learning, and live coaching all together to create this hybrid experience and that integrate automation, that saves time. You don't lose authenticity as you're guiding people. And it also includes strategies for personalizing client interaction at scale. But first, we want to know a little bit about you. So we would love for you to tell us about your practice. So if you would let us know what type of service generates the most revenue for you right now. Is it one-on-one coaching? Is it team or group coaching? Is it training, in person or virtual? Or is it consulting? So let us know if you had to say which type of service generates most of your revenue right now, what would it be? And this is anonymous, but we'd love to hear from all of you. So what kind of service generates most of your revenue? Wow, we have a few more. We'd love to hear from you. We can get to 80%. I know we can, just a few. All right. So we can end that poll. So we have a pretty even split. Right now, the top winner right now is consulting. Number two is training. And then we have one-on-one coaching and team group coaching tied. So, but they're pretty much even split, right? So if we could share those results, that would be great. Okay, excellent. So, so pretty much there's no one clear, like, big winner. Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that. So some people had shared that's about 50-50 one-on-one and group coaching. Okay, good. So we're going to share a resource in the chat if you'd like to follow along, to have you do some thinking. Shelby, who's here with us in the background, our director of marketing, is going to share with you a resource if you'd like to follow along. It is a PDF. It's a fillable PDF. So this is a handout. I'm going to share with you a revenue distribution model, and it has some questions. If you're the kind of person that wants to kind of learn and do, this is a great way for you to kind of capture some of your thoughts and some of your ideas. I'm going to be sharing with you this revenue distribution model. So I designed this several years ago, and it was what I used to decide how I was actually going to invest my time. And so as I go through it, I want you to be listening with your practice in mind. Okay. We might be getting an error. I'm not sure on that, Shelby. So I'm not sure if, yeah, Shelby, some people are having an issue with the resource. We'll work on that for now. Don't worry, we'll figure that out. Some people are having an error, some people having it work. So we will, if not, we will send it to you after. So not to worry. So if you are able to access it, don't worry, not to worry, but we'll show it on the slides and we'll send it to you after as well. So I never gave up on one-on-one coaching per se. It was always, a great, opportunity for me. I always loved coaching, but I started to learn pretty early on that that was not going to be something that I could scale as in the way that I liked. Even selling B2B one-on-one coaching, executive coaching, it just physically, I didn't have enough hours in the day to make that scalable and to create the life that I wanted, right? So I started to bucket all of the services in sort of these three areas. So there's what I call high investment, low return services. And I kind of bucketed, those were kind of low ticket one-on-one coaching clients. And this is kind of like the B2C coaching, right? I started out doing career coaching when I first started. And then I started to do some leadership coaching, but I was selling directly to the client, right? Not selling to the company. Because when you sell to the B2B, you can charge a little bit more, right? So I was starting to do that. And, when you're selling career coaching and you're selling to someone who doesn't have a job, right? It's a little bit harder to make that bigger price tag. So there was that low ticket one-on-one coaching client, right? Then there's that one I started initially when I first started, I started working for some other coaches who would subcontract me, and they would pay me a fraction of what they were charging to get those clients. And that was also high investment, low return, but I took it. I wanted to practice, I wanted business. And I still sometimes, if I need, to do that, I might do that. But I'll tell you why I still do that in a minute. Okay. Then there's what I call this sort of flat bucket of revenue. And this is the monthly retainer organizational consulting. Now, I never subscribed to those like hyper dramatic stories of the entrepreneurs who like lived in their, girlfriend's basement and started a business. And then all of a sudden one day they became a millionaire. I never subscribed to those like over dramatic stories. Because the reality is, if your living expenses are being met and you start a business in someone's basement, your living expenses are being met. Okay. So I have been living on my own. I was living on my own since I'm 20 years old. No one was paying for my living expenses. I didn't get married until my early 40s. So, like, no one was like paying for anything. So, like, I had to pay everything for everything my entire life. So I couldn't afford to just be like, oh, I'll throw caution to the wind and just come up with an idea and like figure it out. So I knew I always had to have some kind of reliable like income coming in. So I liked this flat bucket because I could serve as a consultant, be a fractional voice in an organization, and have this monthly retainer consulting sort of money coming in. It helped me, it gave me the security I needed and the confidence I needed to go say, hey, I can now go and sell these other scalable products because I know I have this money coming in that maybe covers my living expense, allows me to covers my car payment, and I can go and do all the other things I need to do. Sometimes even group coaching or courses can cover in that flat category, or even content or curriculum development. Yes, exactly, Pam. My clients like one-on-one coaching, but it's energy consuming and time constricting as a service provider. Absolutely, right? It takes up a lot of time, right? And if you can't serve that many humans in a day, and even if you go like session to session, after 3 people, you need a nap, right? Even if you're an extrovert like me, it gets tiring, okay? So I did some content curriculum development when I was in graduate school. I was in graduate school in my mid-30s, and I immediately connected with someone who had a consulting firm, and I worked on the sales playbook for when Dropbox it rolled out Dropbox for Business. I worked on that project, and I created the sales playbook for those people that were selling Dropbox for Business, right? Because all of a sudden Dropbox was like, oh, we need to expand, and we need all these managers, and we need to do manager training, and we need to do sales training. And I got paid $75 an hour to do content creation, right? And that was a flat good experience for me. I got paid by the hour, but I was doing content and curriculum creation. And then there's some people process improvement projects, like I helped companies redo their performance process, or I, did some created an onboarding program, right? So again, my background's org psych, right? So I learned about all the different people processes and how to make them better. And sometimes I work with organizations that were just installing HR, right? In a newer organization, or I work with a startup that like needed to have a people function, right? And I helped them build that. So I did some of those things in those short-term projects. They provided that flat income. What I started to learn is where the real money was at, and where I could do what I love in a scalable way was in the low investment, high return services. And that was sometimes in those single multi-day trainings where I could show up and get paid 5-6 grand for a day-long thing, right? I could also do B2B coaching, team coaching, and training. Okay. That's where I designed my signature product, where I teach coaching skills to leaders. Okay. And part of why I still keep my toe in the water of doing one-on-one coaching is to keep my integrity. If I'm going to teach coaching skills to leaders, I should still be doing a little bit of one-on-one coaching. So I still keep about like 4 to 6 one-on-one coaching clients, just so I'm in the conversation of coaching. So when I'm teaching coaching skills for leaders, that I can still feel like I'm in the game. Okay. So I love to be able to have that scalable piece of my life where I can meet with a group of 50 people for 2 hours a month, and they're all being charged per person by that company. It's a completely different invoice than when you're buying coaching for one person. There's also B2B executive coaching, which sometimes can be in this low investment, high return, where you are selling maybe executive coaching to an organization, where you are perhaps maybe coaching maybe 6, 10, 12 people. Maybe you're subcontracting out to another coach as well, but you have a higher price tag because you are selling into a company and you are promising, some serious results. You're developing leaders, or you're up-leveling executives, or you're working with some high potential people. Now, I like to have, also sometimes people have high ticket one-on-one coaching where they are selling, giant, packages to executives with, they're really zeroing in on people that are looking to go to the C-suite, that are willing to invest $10,000 or $15,000, in a coaching package. And there are some people that do that and do that well. And so I'm absolutely, I'm not saying that you can't make a lot of money with one-on-one coaching. Okay. But I usually like to have a little bit of business in each of the buckets, but I always want to have at least 50% of my income coming from the middle bucket. Okay. So my question to you, and this is in the resource, and you can share this in the chat if you want, but my question to you is this: what percentage of each area represents your current client load? So you can, and I'll put the resource back up here. So I'll call this, sort of area 1, area 2, area 3, right? So just in the flat area, the low investment, high return, that's the sweet spot. 2 and 3, right? The high investment, low return. right? So if you had to say what percentage of each area represents your current client load for yourself, if you want to share it in the chat, you can. For yourself, what would the breakdown be, right? My goal is that 50%. I want 50% in the middle range. That's my goal, is what I want. Now, I had this amazing year last year where it was about 70, 75% was in that middle range, because I had a really, really large project where I was running 6 cohorts of my coaching skills program. And they were all over the country. They were running all over. And so it was a really, really good experience for me to see how all my work had culminated in that year, right? And how it had all kind of come together, right? So just think about it, right? Think about where your buckets are. So then think about to yourself, and again, this is all in your worksheet, 6 months from now, with conscious strategic effort, what could those percentages be? So if you wanted to move more business into that middle pillar, right, that bullseye, if you wanted to move that middle pillar, what could those percentages be, right? What would you have to do, right? What could those percentages be? How could you raise the levers, right? You don't have to give up anything that you like to do, right? But what could it be? Okay, good. So Christopher shared 40, 30, 30 is today. Okay, good, right? That's a pretty good balance. So what Christopher is saying here, if we look on the resource, he's got 40 in flat, 30 in low investment, high return, 30 over here. Okay, that's pretty decent, right? That's a good distribution, right? And so you want to then, okay, 20, 60. Thanks, Dominique, for sharing. Okay, good. So 20, 60, right? Again, it's just a good exercise. Remember, we're always in our business, and sometimes we just have to take a step back, take a breath, and be thinking about our business. We don't get that opportunity all the time. We just want to take that breath and do that. 80, 15, 5. Thanks, Karen, for sharing. Great. I want to increase the low investment, high return to 50. Awesome. Good goal. Good goal. Michael, 50, 40, 10. Okay, good. Michael, that's good. I like your number 10 at the end. I like to say, like, I want to keep my high investment, low return. I want to keep that like 10, 15. Like, I want to keep that there. Pamela, today it's 10, 15, 25, 60. 6 months, I want it 25, 65, 10. I like that switch. I like that goal. Love that. All right, so let's think about actions. Remember, we're a coach. We're going to be action oriented. Okay, so what are 2 things you could start doing this month now to make the 6-month goal a reality? And by when will you take the first step? Now you can jot this down in your little resource here. What are 2 things you could start doing to make this goal a reality, right? And by when will you take the first step? This is one of my 2 things coming here. Okay, good. This could be one of your 2 things. That's great. So you could jot it down. You can also share it with us if you want. Okay. What else could you do? Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. I have no email list. I don't post incessantly on social media. Okay. My entire business model is partnerships. So I create partnerships with boutique and small consulting firms, coaching firms that provide the services that are like-minded individuals, and I distribute my products through them. And I love it. I don't have to do invoicing. I don't have to do marketing. I don't have to do graphic design. It's amazing. So it's wonderful. Now I sell a small portion of what I do direct, and I still sell through these companies. So I sell through them. I sell through these companies, and it's great. And instead of me spending time doing a lot of the business development, they take a portion of what I do. And then I still do a lot of the sales, or I still am involved in the sales process, but it's amazing. And I don't have to spend the time doing the admin, doing the bookkeeping. I don't have to do anything. It's great. I would say about like maybe 10 or 15% are things I do sell directly, because I still meet people, I network, and I still sell directly. But I still do all of those things. It's just I don't have to do any of the other things. I don't have to do any time that I would do, like doing all the business development. They'll bring the lead. I'll sell the program, I'll administer the program and they will take a portion of it because they're doing the marketing and they're providing some of the admin. It's just a beautiful model. So I don't have to spend all the time doing the grind. It's amazing. But anyway, that's a whole other webinar. Okay, so the scaling dilemma that we've got, right? The scaling dilemma that we've got is here. So we love people, right? That's what we do. Well, how do I scale without losing connection, right? Coaches, we want to grow our impact, right? We want to reach as many people as possible. I love helping people. I love watching people learn and grow and figure out how to work with their teams. But when we scale, it feels like a trade-off. Like I love being in a one-on-one conversation where people feel like they're getting value. There is going to be less one-on-one time. There'll be less individual ahas or people feeling like they transform their life or their team. It is a little bit less depth. I'm going to be straight with you. But the real fear is, will I lose the magic that makes coaching work, right? Will we lose that magic, right? All right. So these are not big coaching companies, Jeff. These are people that I've met. One of them is a local provider. One of them, I can tell you a story another day, but like these are small companies. They're not giant firms. These are people that I've met and created partnerships with. And again, we can talk about that in their time, but it's really about they're small boutique firms of like 3, 5, 10 people. They're not giant companies. Like I'm not talking about large companies that you subcontract for. That's not what I'm talking about, right? All right, so we're going to explore scaling. Okay, so I want to just give you an example of one of those that's in that low investment, high return. So we're going to talk about B2B team coaching, and I'm going to tell you exactly how. So these are all ways that I have transitioned and done certain packages. And it's about shifting the model and not the mission. So team coaching or training, it's not less impactful, it's just different. And so we move from helping people like get insight to we're more of a facilitator. We're creating this shared experience, right? And we're focusing on patterns across a bunch of people, not just Joe's behavior or Susie's behavior. And we're using the group as this sort of vehicle for movement, right? Not just this bunch of people, okay? But there's 3 keys to creating this engagement. So as you start to move from one-on-one to team coaching, it's not just about doing more things. It's about designing differently. So scaling coaching doesn't mean watering it down. It means being intentional about how people engage, learn, and grow together. So you start with personal insight. So even in a team setting, individual self-awareness is where it all begins. People are more open, more grounded, and more engaged when they really feel seen and understood. That's why we start with something simple, like an assessment, a reflection, or even a values card sort. So one of the firms I work with started out with these like value cards where they're like these cards that have one word on them. So when you're facilitating live, like you put the cards out and you just ask people to like pick their leadership superpower. So what I did was I created like a grid on a slide. And when I'm presenting virtually, I just have all these words and I say, okay, tell me your leadership superpower and like why you have it, right? And so in a group, right? And then I'll say, okay, pick somebody else's leadership superpower. And all of a sudden you've created this amazing informal recognition activity. And it's just a bunch of words, right? So you don't have to do something difficult. You don't have to do death by PowerPoint. It's a word list, okay? So you don't need to overcomplicate it. You use what you already love. If you know DISC or you know Clifton Strengths or you know another assessment, it's even just a guided journal prompt can go a long way. You're coaching the team, not just individuals. So this is a big shift from one-on-one to team coaching. Your job becomes about observing what's happening with these people, how they listen, how they collaborate, how they handle tension. Think of yourself as a mirror for the group dynamic. You ease fear. You don't need to solve every dynamic. Your role is to name it, create awareness, and hold space for the group to shift it. So then your job is to keep momentum between sessions. Growth does not happen in the session. Remember, it's the same thing with your one-on-one clients. It happens when they do something after the session. It happens on Tuesday morning when someone applies a small insight in a real conversation. That's why we use like light touch prompts, short emails, Slack messages, or nudges that help people stay connected to the work. So you can even reuse content from your sessions. A simple reminder like notice where you're speaking versus asking for this week can be enough, okay? Less is more, right? Less is more, right? Yes, so great extended disc. I mean, yeah, that's great, Pamela. Awesome. Bias strengths, awesome, excellent, great tools to be using. So a lot of these like marketing sales gurus, they don't tell you like exactly how to do it. They like drip it and they make you wonder, and then they try to like sell you these prefabricated templates. Okay, so I'm going to actually tell you ways that I've sold it. So, and again, this is also a way you could do it. It doesn't mean you have to do it this way. You could change things. This is not a cookie cutter thing. You could change things about this. So the first one, let's talk about, also want to talk about pricing. This is where coaches get nervous. I remember when I first decided to go on my own and I worked with a coach and she was like, you could make $20,000 this month. And I was like, $20,000? I recently wrote her back because I was like, I'm going to be straight up with you. I regularly do 5 figures a month, right? So I just was like, I can't believe that I was like so shocked that I could ever like charge that. And I totally have invoices that are 20,000, right? So I just I could never even function at doing that, right? I could never conceive of that. So people get nervous, right? So team coaching is inherently more valuable. It creates shared language. It creates alignment and long-term cultural impact in an organization. You're not just coaching individuals, you're shaping how the team operates, okay? So these cohort-based programs, they can run anywhere from $7,500 to $25,000 per team. It could even go higher depending on size, complexity, and level of customization. I'm being conservative here. They could go higher, okay? This might feel like a big jump from one-on-one pricing, but remember, this is a structured experience. It could be 6 to 12 weeks, bi-weekly sessions, a kickoff, assessments, in between reinforcement. You're designing transformation at scale. And if you're just starting, price based on value and comfort, but don't underprice. Even a 6-week pilot at 7,500 gives you margin to serve well. So imagine you work with a group of newly promoted managers from across several departments, and each of them are facing similar challenges, maybe around communication, feedback, trust. And instead of a one-off workshop, this is the other thing. One-off workshops, companies come to me all the time. They want to do a one-off workshop for leadership. I'm like, okay, that's great. Do you really think that's going to change leadership behavior? Because it's not, okay? You will not shift leadership behavior by sending your leaders to a leadership workshop. You will entertain them. You will maybe give them some interesting insights, right? So you will sometimes have to shift their mindset and help them understand that leadership behavior does not change in a workshop. Awesome question, Chris. If you are working with a nonprofit, you will likely have to shift the conversation and the pricing. Sometimes I straight up ask them, what is your budget? And then what I will do is when they tell me their budget, I will restructure the hours and the offering to their budget based upon what I know I can do and what I couldn't put in. If they say, hey, I only have $10,000, I'll say, great. Maybe I'm going to do 45-minute sessions and I'm going to do 6 of them here and they're all going to be virtual. So you can modify, you can take lower ticket projects. You can also say to yourself, I used to do this when I did one-on-one coaching. I always had 3 angel spots. So I always had 3 spots where I was willing to lower my prices for people who really needed me. And I was willing to go significantly lower. And I always had 3 angel spots available. And maybe I cut my price in half. So if you want to do something like that because you want to help a nonprofit because you believe in what they do, do it. Okay. I don't believe in this charge what you're worth because I think that is just ridiculous. We are not worth, our worth is infinite. We can't be measured in a dollar sign, right? I'm not worth $10 or $1 million. Like my worth is infinite. My value is infinite. And I can deliver value, and that has nothing to do with what I charge, okay? So you charge based on what you feel you can deliver and the value that it can bring, okay? So it's not, don't ever tie your worth to a dollar sign. Okay. It's not about that. It's charging about the value you can deliver. Okay. So, again, between these sessions, you can deliver these prompts. This is what it looks like to really scale and kind of help people. You're helping culture evolve when you're doing this, right? Because you're teaching these people how to communicate with each other. So you're creating this culture shift instead of just coaching these individual people who aren't talking to each other. Now, another way you can do it, so this is a good possible, another nonprofit solution if they can't afford this other piece, Chris, is sort of this ongoing team coaching, right? Where maybe it's, this is about consistency. You're helping teams stay aligned and accountable as they grow. This is maybe not a one-time intervention. You don't have to start with a cohort experience. This is just an example. There's no one right way to do this. This is usually for intact teams, project functional leadership teams. It also might be for fast scaling departments or navigating, people are navigating rapid change. It's for maybe it's for executive teams looking for an internal sounding board and cultural alignment. This also might be a fit if like you're more of a consultant. This is great for clients who don't need a full training program, but they want a consistent high trust space. They want growth, reflection, and recalibration. Maybe it's monthly 60 or 90-minute virtual sessions, and you're focusing on team dynamics, alignment, or like live challenges. Maybe there's like a lightweight dashboard or check-in tool to track themes over time. Maybe in between, there's some asynchronous nudges, some reflection prompts, or optional office hours where you might be available for questions. This is where you might think of yourself more like a strategic partner, not just a coach. Some of you might identify more as a consultant. If you do more consulting, you might like this model. Now, this pricing was a little lower. You're supporting the functioning of the team in real time as they work together. I put the price range as $800 to $2,000 a month, depending on size. This can also be a maintenance product. You can use this as a maintenance product after the cohort product is over, right? So I've done the cohort product and then like graduated to this. You can also position this as fractional team coaching. You're embedded, but it's flexible. If the pricing feels uncomfortable, start at a rate that feels right for your capacity. Again, it could also be like a maintenance follow-up product, okay? Now, if you've got an organization that's a mess and that needs a lot of help, you might want to do something like this. Now, pre-COVID, I did a lot of this type of work because I did a lot of like on-site work more and I was traveling a lot. This can sometimes be known as turnaround work. It can sometimes blend coaching and consulting. It's built for depth. It's ideal when a team is navigating complexity, whether it's a change initiative, a new strategic direction, or there's real tension, they need a reset. You're not just coaching, you're designing a transformation process with sustained support. There's project teams facing cross-functional pressure. There's some kind of change management, leadership teams in conflict, or they need a culture reboot. You may want to do an engagement survey to kick this off. This is for clients who know a single offsite will not cut it. They need structured, high-touch support. You may want to do quarterly, half-day on-site intensives, deep dive interactive sessions to assess and align and reset. By the way, these are all in these are listed in the resource. Monthly 60-minute live virtual sessions where you check progress. So you meet with them in person quarterly, and then you monthly check in with them. In between, you have team-specific nudges, maybe based on psychographic insights from assessments. You have feedback loops and pulse check-ins to track progress. You want to think of this as a rhythm of a reset and reinforcement. You go deeper every quarter. You have to be willing to be very direct with your clients. This is a premium offer for organizations serious about change. The price range, I'm giving you a wide one. It's like $17.5 to $50 per team. If you're doing a year-long initiative, it might be a six-figure project. Think of it like a leadership accelerator for teams. So through one of my partners, we did a year-long project like this where we worked with all the senior leaders monthly, and then we did other training initiatives with some of their middle managers. It was, a really multifaceted project. Don't shy away from this price. You may have to build trust with an organization like this. So you may have to do a smaller package and get in the door and then graduate to this. Okay. If you want to start with a 6-month pilot as a lower end of the range and then build from there. Okay. So any questions? I know I've just given you a lot of information. I want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. I know I just gave you a lot of information. These high-level descriptions are in your resource, but I want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. I know I just gave you a lot of details, gave you a lot of information, but I want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. Marielle, sure. Actually, I'm going to let you talk. Oh, hold on. Marielle, go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. I just realized I wasn't able to unmute.
That's okay.
Um, so when you were talking about the intensive and reinforcement model, I really liked what you said about the resets.
Mhm.
Can you go over that one more time, or it was so articulate. I wanted to take the note correctly.
So, like the culture reset piece?
Yeah, the rhythm of reset, and was it
Yes.
reinvention, something like that? I mean,
So,
it very much sounds like a culture transformation, right? Which is
yes.
my expertise.
Yes. So I would say in a project that I did with similar to this in the past, we did do an engagement survey first, and then we brought those insights to the senior team to show them what the culture pieces at like that were putting the culture at risk were. And so we used that a result from that survey to coach the senior team and like these are the elements. Like managers were not giving any feedback. Like there were like people that just like performance reviews were a surprise. Like it was consistent, right? So we were showing them the cultural trends. We were showing them there was the retention was high. Like there was all these trends that we were like, here's what you need to try to turn around, and here's how we can help you. And we kind of like used that we used that information to guide the rest of our team coaching with them and our training with them. Does that make sense?
It does. And actually, I think I'm in that spot right now with a prospect that they've already done their own engagement survey and they're soliciting what they think is the next step of focus groups from select um, I don't know, not leadership team members, but I don't know where something like a focus group or facilitations would come into this outside of the leadership team. And I mean, I've done it at big companies, but not for smaller nonprofits before. And that's what the case is here. Is that, do you use focus groups after the engagement surveys ever, or is that something?
We do I've done independent interviews with yes with I've done independent interviews, yes, with stakeholders like within the organization, yes.
Okay, but those are typically one-to-one. I'm trying to figure out how to fit Cloverleaf into this
Yes.
engagement. And I feel like if we for the focus group participants, if they're offered Cloverleaf as a starting point to sort of, um, I don't know, as you said at the beginning, lower their create psychological safety and lower any of the fears that they have to contributing, because I think that's one of the reasons the leadership team knows they need to do these
Mhm.
after hearing from the engagement work. Is that is Cloverleaf built into this price range and model?
Yeah, I mean, it can be absolutely. I mean, that's the way I do it. I always build it in. We're going to talk about that, and as in the next slide, we're going to talk about that. Okay,
Sounds good. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about specifically about how you integrate, and that's a great point that Marielle just brought up. We're going to talk about how do you blend self-guided learning and technology and into live coaching and training. So, what about smart automation? We want to save time. We don't want to lose authenticity. We want hassle-free, admin-free assessments. Like I talked to you about a lot about assessments and nudges and micro learning and adding in all these touch points, but I don't want you to do more work. And all of your micro learning and nudges really should be done for you, and strategies for personalizing client interactions at scale. So I'm about to make your life really easy. Not everybody on this webinar is a Cloverleaf user. This webinar is designed in mind with like people that might not be Cloverleaf users. So my life as a practitioner before Cloverleaf, you will notice the little Clovey He's sad. He's being rained on. There was a lot of too much admin. So, I was sending a lot of disc links. I was tracking completions. I was chasing people with PDFs, and every team individual had a lot of setup attached to it. So insights were also one and done. So reports were being sent to people, and they sometimes would forget to print it out, and they wouldn't have it. And it was just, I couldn't see everybody in one place. It was very confusing. Coaching didn't scale. I couldn't stay present with every single person and their results, and there was little reinforcement. What do you do with a report after the session? Like, people don't walk around with their disc report, and they certainly don't walk around with everybody else's disc report. And people forgot about the why about any of the assessments. They forgot, the momentum faded, and I didn't have to time to create all this reinforcement in between. The coaching was valuable, but it was hard to sustain and even harder to scale, right? So, sorry. So I am just going to show you a little bit about how Cloverleaf can make life a little bit easier. So this is Cloverleaf, for those of you that are not Cloverleaf customers or users. And so I'm not in sales for Cloverleaf. I just love Cloverleaf, and I want every coach and consultant and training professional to have an easier life. I get absolutely nothing if people use Cloverleaf. I literally just love to talk about it. And I feel like it's made my life as a practitioner so much easier, and it's improved the quality of my services and enabled me to sell more and have more impact in my programs and services. So Cloverleaf offers the ability for multiple assessments to be available in one place, where an individual I just have to send them an invitation to this platform. I don't have to do anything. I have to send them a link to anything, to 12 different assessments. They take these assessments, but beyond that report, where they, read that report and it was interesting, but not necessarily useful, they are then getting an email delivered to them daily about a tip about themselves. That's their reminder. They're getting that micro learning reminder, but they're also getting a tip about their team member. So as I'm delivering team coaching, they are now getting those reinforcements. But Cloverleaf doesn't stop there. I can then assign them to do this exercise within Cloverleaf that I don't have to create, that's already built in. I assign them to set a coaching focus, and I say, what do you want to focus on? And they might want to focus on enhancing communication skills or thinking strategically, or maybe they want to focus on building confidence. So each person gets to set their goal. Now, the great part about Cloverleaf is when you decide what you want to focus on, the system will actually send you coaching tips that are based on what you want to focus on a more regular basis. So if you could imagine that every time you take an assessment, there are a set of coaching tips that are written. They are not AI generated. They are written by our internal teams, right, who are educated on these assessments. They are written. So if you take the DISC assessment and you're an ID like me, all of the tips associated with ID get put in your tip bank. If you're an Enneagram 7 like me, all of the tips associated with Enneagram 7 get put in your tip bank. And the more assessments you take, the wider your tip bank is. So if you look here at my profile, this is a mock account, you can now click on communication style, and all the different assessments you've taken are now going to give you interesting insights about your communication style. Now, when I go back to my profile, I can now say to my team coaching cohort, I want each of you 2 times a week to start your day with your daily coaching reflection. And this is a micro learning activity that I don't have to create, that's created for them. And it gives a tip about my coachee, and it gives them a way to capture a little coaching question, and gives them to capture information. Now, maybe this is information that they want to bring up in their one-on-one, so they can hashtag it one-on-one. Then they're going to get a tip about their team member. Now, do you start your day thinking to yourself, what are my strengths? What are the strengths of my team member? Absolutely not. You start your day opening up your email and opening up your calendar. We're a transactional workforce. I'm now asking the team that I'm coaching to start their day getting present to their strengths and getting present to the strengths of the people that they work with each day. And this is creating intentional leadership, intentional communication with the people that they work with every day. This is reinforcing the coaching that I've delivered and making my coaching more valuable. So it's enhancing what I've just sold them, right? So now they're getting a tip about their team member, and it's asking me how I can create opportunities for this team member to lead brainstorming sessions that play to their strengths. Oh, I'm going to now delegate to this person. I'm going to ask Riley to lead part of our next team meeting. Now this reminds me, this is my nudge. Maybe I've just led a team coaching session on collaboration. This is my nudge. I now reach out to Riley on Microsoft Teams and say, hey, Riley, would you mind leading this exercise in our next team meeting? Now I'm leveraging Riley's strength. And I, as the coach, did not have to create this content. I, as the coach, did not have to send anything. Okay. This is not, no, AI is not creating this, right? So I am now just typing this question, right? So I am just typing this answer. The system knows that Riley's on my team. And so the system is just giving me the tip. The tip is not AI generated. The tip is created from the assessment results of Riley, okay? And so the tip is being given to me. And now the reflection question has been written by our teams, right? It's been given to me. And now I am going to be taking this information. I'm now taking an action, right? I'm going to ask Riley to lead part of our team meeting. I now take the action, right? The part of, this is where the AI comes in, and I'll show you, okay? And I now can say, if I lead a team coaching session on how to give effective feedback, I'll show you where the AI comes in. Is that how can I give effective feedback to Noor, okay? When I search this, the AI functionality is just querying the tips to tell me, to bring me the right tips. It's just searching the tips, okay? That's all. It's the AI functionality is picking the right tips to give me the information about how I can give a feedback effectively to Noor. So if I do a team coaching session on giving effective feedback, I can now give this as their little assignment. Hey, everyone, when you have to give feedback, I would want you to use this feature, Insight Search. Now, if I am going into the team coaching session newly and I want to understand the dynamics of the team, I can see all of the teams at a glance. I can see how do these two people, if I take them side by side and I pull up Enneagram, which helps me understand a little bit more about people in conflict, I can understand how they communicate differently. What's their different work styles? I can understand their source of conflict. I can see all of their different 16 types results up against each other. Who are the extroverts? Who are the introverts? Who might I have to call on to participate in the conversation because they may not speak up right away? And there's all of this information directly in the platform. Who's an Enneagram 1, 2, 3? Well, what is an Enneagram 1, 2, or 3? Well, I can click right here and I can open that up and I can understand what is Enneagram, what is an Enneagram 1, 2, and 3. I don't have to be a rocket scientist or an Enneagram expert. You're all educated enough in your fields to understand a little bit about some of this. You don't need to be certified in all of these assessments to use some of this. You use this as a jumping off point. We have to get ourselves out of the old assessment model where debriefing an assessment is creating all of this value. It is using the assessment to ask questions, to ask people what that means for them in their team, in their day-to-day work, and making it relevant to now. Making people an expert on their assessment report is not necessarily helping them interact with their teams, right? And so we have to that is how we've all experienced assessments all of our lives. And so we think we have to be these assessment experts if we're going to use Cloverleaf, right? And so if we think about all of these features, right, and we think about just sending them one link to join this platform, and now they're getting all of this automation in between, right? I have seen this when I give my coaching skills for leaders program and I teach them about coaching in conflict. they can now understand exactly how to deal with conflict with their specific people. So I'm doing a team coaching session on conflict, but I don't know their teams. I can teach them the generic skill, but they apply the skills specifically to their team members, which is what makes it impactful. So what we make distinct is we may be teaching or coaching around a specific concept or around a specific generic idea, but Cloverleaf brings that personal contextual insight. It extends our coaching, it extends our learning retention. It keeps everything we talk about top of mind with our coachees. And that's a value add. I add my prospects onto this platform while I'm prospecting them, while I'm in the sales cycle. And they're like, wow, I never saw anything like this, right? So I'll add that head of HR, I'll add that CHRO, I'll add that CEO or that person that is making that decision. I'll be like, this is what your people are going to get when they work with me. And I will add them on while I'm in that proposal process, right? I'll add them on a trial or whatever it is. I'll give them access to see the experience that their coachees, their trainees, whoever is going to be on that. And that has been a game changer for me. And so what my life is like now is after Cloverleaf is now is I have scalable, sustainable team coaching and training because I have an entirely different way of delivering content. So I've set up in minutes. All my assessments are auto sent, tracked, integrated, no chasing links, no follow-ups manually. I have coaching tips on micro learning that I integrate and assign into my products, my one-on-one coaching. I will tell them, hey, I want you to do your Cloverleaf reflections and I want you to take action on one thing and I want you to come back and tell me in the next session what you did. Everything's integrated into their meetings. You can integrate into your calendar right where they are already working. I stay present without having to be there, right? I'm in their mind at their forefront when they open that Cloverleaf email, when they do that little reflection. But it's deeply relevant to them because I'm not sending them just a random YouTube video or a random article to read. It's something about who they are. And it takes 30 seconds. It takes a minute. They don't have to interrupt their workday. And it's behavior change that sticks. It's built in, it's continuous. I don't have to create anything. I don't have to write anything. I don't have to go searching online to find something. And I deliver more value and it's less lift. So team coaching, team training, leadership development training. I just worked with one of my partners as a team. We completely redesigned our sort of our manager development training and incorporated this. And it's just, it's going to completely change the way that program looks. And I don't need to be an expert in all of this. And I really try to say that Cloverleaf is like if you got a brand new Corvette, would you brag about the gas you put in it? Like Cloverleaf is like the assessments is just the gas that makes Cloverleaf go with this functionality that these brilliant designers and engineers created, right? If you got a brand new Corvette, you wouldn't brag about the gas. You would brag about how fast it goes and like how beautiful it is, right? And so I kind of just divorced myself from how we've known assessments our whole lives. And I've just really seen the way it can just change the way we transform lives for other people. And, I've had people come to me and say, I didn't know this about me. I didn't know, like, they took Via's strengths and one of their strengths was love. And I had this woman who, God, she was so lovely. She was probably at the end of her career and she was in my coaching program. And she said, Cloverleaf told me that love was my strength. And she goes, I really realized that's true. She goes, sometimes, I'm afraid in these situations to have these difficult conversations. But I said, I'm going to do it with love because Cloverleaf told me that love is my strength. And I just, she just needed to have that said to her. And there's no person behind Cloverleaf. It's just this language and there's no bias or personality behind it. It's not like someone giving you feedback. And here was this woman at the end of her career and she's like, I'm going to have the hard conversation. I'm just going to do it with love. It was just so wonderful. And I just, I was just moved to tears and it was just something that, she's going to remember that. And I could tell you 1,000 more stories about that. And I can't tell you enough how Cloverleaf has impacted the lives of the people that I've been able to serve for the past several years. So just a question for you. What's a way that you see Cloverleaf can enhance what you do? So if you're not using Cloverleaf, if you are using Cloverleaf, You can pop it in the chat. You can ask a question. You can ask us anything. What's a way that you see that Cloverleaf can enhance what you do? Oh, and so people are asking about pricing. So we usually factor in whatever your cost is for Cloverleaf. You kind of think about it. Like my goal, I always tell people, if you can cover your cost for Cloverleaf in your first contract, do it. Right. And then you don't have to think about it. The reality is, if people were going to go buy disc for all their employees, they'd be paying at least $100, right? So for each person's disc. So if you blend in, if you can, I don't like line item charging for Cloverleaf, because then they'll be like, oh, well, we don't want that. Just bundle it in and say you're giving it to them. Like bundle it into your price and say, hey, this is part of my programming. Because if you don't want them to toss it out, and you say, hey, I'm giving this to you, this value is, is worth like $400 or $500 a person. Because if you were to go buy just Enneagram 6, just go buy Enneagram, MBTI, and disc online, you'd pay at least $250 to $300 a person. And so just think about that. That's like, if you were coaching 10 people, that's $3,000. So you just go and you put it in. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, just build it in. Like my whole thing is like, with your first contract, like after you purchase Cloverleaf, with your first contract, get it paid for and it's done. Kurt shared, yes, the thinking styles comparison tool with a difficult conversation planner that he gives to leaders. Good. So interactive and powerful. Yeah, I've coached people. Like sometimes I'm coaching people and they start talking, and I have them on Cloverleaf, and they start talking about some story. And I'm like, stop, tell me the details. And I'll bring up the two people and I'll be like, what do you think's really going on? And all of a sudden I get out of the details and drama and we get solution focused. So we bring up these two people side by side and I have them read their different, the way they're different, and then they're done. They're like, oh, I see what's going on. Sue shared, yes, bringing together multiple assessments that will help my clients better understand themselves and each other on an ongoing basis. Yes, between session. Plus, it helps me better understand my clients so I can communicate better with them. Yes, sometimes we want to see things about our clients, and sometimes it helps us just to see it in this different way, and it's not necessarily from them, it's just from this other perspective. Yes, Ernie, yes, build it into the pricing if they don't want it. I've only had one person, one, in all 5 years say, no, don't add it into the program. One. So, yes. Yes, Carolyn, it is a powerful tool. Christopher shared, he just signed up, 100% removing some of the admin burden and not having to pay for each assessment. Yes, I remember, like, I just have this memory of like copying and pasting all these links into a spreadsheet of all the disc links. And I just remember that was like so tedious, right? Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Carolyn. Thank you so much. Awesome. I know we're at time, so I want to be respectful of your time. We are going to be sending you the recording. We will be sending you the worksheet as well. And if you have any other questions, you can feel free to contact us. We will also send you some additional information if you'd like to learn more about Cloverleaf. But thank you so much for your time and your attention. Thank you for all the work that you do and for all that you do to impact people and teams. I truly, and Pamela, I used a different disc tool as well, and I made the adjustment, so it is possible. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate all of your time. I wish you all the luck and success in the world and everything that you do. And I hope to see you again. Bye, everybody.